Okay.
Okay, hello.
Amazing.
You
We
look
got there.
crystal clear. That's lovely. I can see you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Great, wonderful. Yeah, I've hit record already. You okay to jump straight into it?
Yeah, of course.
Wonderful. Well, let me just do a little preamble bit and then we'll start the conversation. So welcome to the BTS Creative Academy podcast. This is one of the Uncut episodes, episode number 144. I'm the host, Martin Colton, and on this episode, my guest is artist and songwriter Jasmine Starre.
Yeah.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah.
Jasmine Starre?
Yeah.
Great, wonderful. Well, hello Jasmine, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you today?
Yeah, doing good. So we had a little technical glitch there, didn't we, for a few
Yeah.
minutes, where
Yeah.
we were trying to get this to work. But after resetting the Wi-Fi, we're here now.
Yep.
So tell me, where am I talking to you from?
So I'm in Santa Monica right now in Los Angeles, California. I am in one of the studios at LAAMP, which is the mentorship program I'm on this year, run by Stargate, a music production duo who are responsible for a lot of Rihanna, Sia, Neo, Dominic Fike recently, crazy amount of songs. So we're in these studios every day, 14 hours a day, making songs, getting them ripped to shreds, and then rewriting them and bringing them back up again, essentially.
Wonderful. So you don't sound like you're from LA. You sound like and I know you're from London. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
So what
So
what what took you to LA to go to this place that you're at now?
so I have a degree in songwriting from BIM in London in the UK. And when I was in my final year the year there, I heard about this program through the podcast And the Writer Is. Um, so if you don't know that one, it's basically a podcast that goes through a songwriter's back catalogue and just talks about their journey and how they've created some of their work. Um, and I heard an advert for it on there. The program was in its first year at the time, so I followed a bunch of people, like spied on them to see what it was like. And it just looks super cool. The growth that I saw in the people in the program in the 9 months was insane. The opportunities that they've had through this program is insane. So I was like, I need to go do that.
You wanted a piece of that.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about, you said that they're responsible for a lot of well-known artists.
Yeah.
Tell me what you mean by that responsibility. What have they done for artists?
So they are music producers and writers. They worked with people like Rihanna super early in their careers. They worked on Teenage Dream with Katy Perry. They worked on Diamonds with Sia and Rihanna. So Sick with Neo. They actually are originally from Norway and came up through the UK through dance music first before moving over to LA. So having that kind of like European background, understanding of like British music as well, I was like, I'm not going to be completely Americanified over here. Um, just a little bit.
So what are they doing for you at the moment?
So basically, the way the program works is every week we make a song or multiple songs. Um, we have guest mentors come in on a Monday. They talk about their lives. They sometimes give us a brief to work to. And then we go off into our studios, we make the songs, submit them on a Friday night, and then on Monday morning we get on stage with Tor, who's one half of Stargate, and he gives us live feedback to action to make these songs better. Sometimes they'll take a song away and pitch it to an artist that they're working with,
Mhm.
um, if they think, it fits for that artist. Sometimes there are sync opportunities that we get through either through them directly or through some of our guest mentors. So we had a pitch opportunity for the Despicable Me movie earlier in the year, stuff like that. Um, and then sometimes we'll just get random, like, hey, any of you guys have a song in this genre? Send it to me right now. And then that will go off to pitch somewhere. Sometimes we don't even know where it's going until afterwards, which is kind of stressful. But yeah, there's the level of opportunities is not something I've ever seen this accessible anywhere else.
Mhm. It really does sound like a unique opportunity and experience that you're having there.
Yeah.
Um, how did you say you found this place?
So it was through And the Writer Is podcast with Ross Golan. So it's a
Hmm.
songwriting podcast. I just heard an advert on there, found them on Instagram, stalked them for a year, and then here we are.
And it doesn't quite sound like a course, or is it? How is it positioned? As a course, as a college, or
So it's like they call it an unaccredited mentorship program, which basically means for internationals like me, it's not considered like a college program, which makes the visa process a bit simpler. Um, it's not a school, like there's not classes, there's not grades. It's just like here are the opportunities if you have the initiative and the motivation to take them, basically, then we're going to help you get there. If you don't do it, the only person you're hurting is yourself.
Mhm. And how long have you been there for now?
So I've been here since September. I came home for Christmas in the middle, but yeah, and the program ends in June, so we're in the home stretch now. It's getting towards the end.
And what happens at the end of the program?
So we have a live like performance graduation showcase for all of our artists, where they invite like a bunch of A&Rs and industry people to come and watch us all perform. And then we have like a little graduation ceremony, which a lot of people's like family and friends are going to be here for. And then we're kind of off into the world, to make the most of these connections and these opportunities and follow up on them and try and, you know, kind of do it without the support of the program,
Mhm.
basically.
What's your hopes for having achieved at the program? What do you hope will come of this?
I hope to be able to support myself off of my music, basically. Um, I'm very much like an artist and a songwriter. I really enjoy writing for other people as well. I actually have a song that I wrote for one of the other program participants here called Sophie Shaw coming out on Friday. It's called Stay Gone. Really excited for that one. But yeah, I think just being able to do that and being able to stay in the US hopefully as well to continue with all the people that I've been in this program with and with these connections that I've made. I've actually got like a production partner from this program that we're planning to set up our own studio at the end of the program.
Nice.
Um, so we'll hopefully be doing that. There's a there's a lot of ifs in between. There's some talk of like potentially if there might be some deal opportunities at the end of the program that's very wishy-washy that nothing can be confirmed or denied to us at this point.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, there's a lot of question marks, but like in a very optimistic way, I suppose.
You've got a very positive outlook of where this may take you. And are you
Yeah.
enjoying the time that you have there? How does it feel to be there right now?
Yeah, I mean it's quite early in the morning. The building just opened.
Okay.
Um, So we're just kind of gearing up for the day. So for this week, for example, we have an artist week. So myself and my production partner are writing for two artists this week. We did three songs Monday, Tuesday, and then today we're going to be recording the lead vocals for all of them. He'll take the production away, work on that, and then I'll go in and write all of the backing vocals. And then we'll just have the artists come back in tomorrow to do their ad libs, and then we'll send them off. That's like kind of what our day looks like today. Um,
It sounds almost like you're living the creative person's dream. You're living that experience of writing songs, producing music, and working with other artists. Is that
yeah,
what it feels like?
yeah, for sure. I had my own artist week a couple of weeks ago. We made 12 songs that week in
Mhm.
5 days. We work hard here, we're hustling. We're making the most of the opportunity. And honestly, like having access to the studio, I'm sure like, people can relate to the fact that studio time is not always easy or cheap to come by.
Mhm.
So just really like making the most of what we have and like especially me not being from this country, like making the most of the time that I have here. um, and the people that I'm with, because like I've met some really great people aside from anything else that I absolutely love to death,
Mhm.
um, and I want to continue working with whichever side of the world I end up on.
Tell me a bit more about the people there.
So it's a pretty diverse mix. There's a lot of Americans, of course, um, but we've got a couple of people from Brazil, someone from Norway, myself, and there's another guy from London as well. someone from Spain, someone from Canada. So everyone's really come from different places, and come with different musical backgrounds, different levels of theory versus performance, or like some people have never co-written before, some people have co-written loads. It's the first few weeks were definitely like everyone sort of figuring each other out and figuring out whose strengths are where and who you want to call when you need this kind of backing vocal, who you want to call when you need these type of drums, like but it's a really collaborative environment. It's like a family. There's only 45 of us here. So like a family, we do fight sometimes, but you know, we always support each other and like we're always out here kind of representing, backing each other up when we need to as well.
Nice. So tell me a little bit about where this kind of creative life kind of started for you. Have you always been a singer-songwriter? Was there a point in your life where things started to open up and you started to discover that?
Yeah, I mean, I've always sung. So my mom has this story she likes to tell of me at 2 years old singing along to the radio before I could form words properly, which I'm not sure how much of that is true and how much is her, mom little story. But
Mhm.
I've always been a singer my entire life. I've tried to do other things and failed essentially because I just keep coming back to this. I was in my first band in middle school, so I was probably 11 or 12. We were absolutely terrible. We used to just do Green Day covers. Um, yeah. And then when I went to high school, I joined like an acoustic guitar group, a jazz band, choir, a cappella group. I was in every like music extracurricular you could possibly be in, um, as well as doing like the musical theater stuff. Um,
So
when I
music really pulled you in at a
Yeah,
young age. And it
yeah,
sounds to me like you really sort of tried to explore all the different areas of music.
yeah, for sure. I'm actually classically trained as a soprano was the first thing that I kind of really did. And then from there moved to like musical theatre and then more contemporary music. Um, but yeah, I've been a guitarist in a metal band, I've been in a folk duo, I've been in a function band. I had my own like indie pop rock band in London right before
Was you
coming
doing that
here.
intentionally, exploring different types of music?
Not really. I just love everything. It's really hard for me when people are like, "What do you want to make?" And I'm like, "I want to make it all." And that's part of the reason that I really like writing for other people because it allows me to do stuff in different genres that doesn't make sense for my artist project.
Mhm.
Because you do have to be a little bit more focused, otherwise people get confused. Um, but yeah, it just allows me to do those different things still. I don't have to like cut them out of my life. I just don't put them out under my own name. I help other people make those kind of things.
Mhm. Tell me a little bit about that. People get confused. Is that what you're talking about when you're an artist and people want to pigeonhole you as one particular thing?
Yeah, for sure. It's actually something that I kind of struggled with a little bit this year in the program. Just um trying to like really zero in on what I want to do and not try and do everything.
Mhm.
Um, just because from like a branding perspective, obviously with like social media and everything being so important for artists these days, you need to be at least like semi-consistent that when people click on your profile from one song, they're not going to hear something that is completely wild and unexpected and turn them off to you again. Um, so it is a little bit frustrating sometimes, but I think part of being in this program has allowed me to like really focus on what elements of stuff I want to bring together. And the music that I'm making now is something that I feel really excited about. I'm not really hearing anyone else do this exact kind of pocket that we're in. Um, so I feel like I've landed in a pretty good spot. It's just the process of narrowing that down and figuring out what like core elements absolutely have to stay that I feel really passionate about and that
Mhm.
kind of thing.
So why is it important to have those core elements as an artist?
I think just like finding the center of your sound allows you to know, how far you can go in one direction without like straying too far from the center. Um, but just like, yeah, being cohesive, making a project that makes sense as a body of songs rather than just one song at a time that you like, yeah, I love this one song. Um, and yeah, just keeping it super cohesive and concise for your audience so that when you're kind of marketing to people, they know what to expect when they hear your next single. They know it's going to be something that, is new but is familiar. It's not a complete left turn from the last thing they heard.
Hmm. Yeah, I think people like that familiarity, don't they?
Yeah.
In looking at musicians, in looking at any art, they want to feel like they know what they're buying into. But
Yeah.
what about you as an artist? Do you think that, or any artist, do you think we get an opportunity to explore? How do we explore different genres like you used to do going forward?
I think once you reach a certain level, there becomes a point that, certain artists like Taylor Swift or Beyonce or, these kind of people, they could put out anything and people will respond to it. With the country Beyonce album, with Taylor Swift switching to folk music, like these kind of things. Once you have that level of dedicated fan base, they will follow you no matter what you do. It's just being consistent in the beginning to build that fan base up, to gain that loyalty, to earn that loyalty actually. Um, and then having people who will stick with you is really powerful.
Mm. So you've got to really think about it from a business point of view to get started in this industry, haven't you?
Yeah, which kind of sucks to be honest. Like I'm just like I just want to make my songs and have a nice time, but um it's a necessary part of the job now. And as much as like I don't want to sit and make TikToks all day and instead of write songs, if I don't spend some time on that, then my music is not going to reach people. And some of us just make music for the joy of it and don't feel the need to broadcast, but some of us want to see our music out in the world. And if that's what you want, then you do need to be thinking about the social media and the marketing and the branding and the aesthetic and all of these kind of things as well.
Mhm. And what are you thinking at the moment? What is your area at the moment? Where are you?
So I'm kind of having a little bit of a rebrand based on a lot of the songs I've been making recently, just trying to prepare for the first single, which will hopefully be coming out sometime this summer. I'm calling it Britpop, which mostly works in America, not in the UK, I'm not gonna lie. Because in the UK everything's Britpop.
Mm.
But it's just bringing like this sort of almost like sing rappy top line with kind of hip hop influenced drums, and then like super singable, like catchy hooks still. Um, so I'm taking a lot of inspiration from people like Katie Baser, um, who else was on my references? Upsoul. There's this new artist in London called Glow who is super exciting. People like that. I'm listening to a lot of like small new artists at the moment rather than, the huge headliners, just seeing what's like fresh and what's new basically. Because ultimately we're not trying to create another Taylor Swift because in 5, 10 years, by the time you get to that level, it's gonna be dated, it's gonna be old. It's just like seeing what's exciting basically and what's new.
Yeah, and so when you look at these sources of new inspiration, what do you do with that information once you've found it?
So it's just kind of finding songs that you like and make you feel a certain type of way and figuring out why they make you feel that way. What is it about this that makes me really like it, essentially? And then thinking about, okay, if I take this element from here and this element from here, and then my producer has this thing that he wants to bring into it as well, and just like making the cocktail essentially and hoping that the song comes out good. Um, but yeah, it's just finding the things that like zeroing in on like why do I like this? What about this is making me want to hit replay, you know? Rather than just listening and being like, oh yeah, this is cool. Um, and then figuring out how to apply those things to my own project or what things I already have in my project, um, where the lines kind of already overlap to, make something new.
It's an amazing question within creativity, isn't it? Why? Why why does this work? Why does this resonate with me? Why am I doing it? You can find so many answers within that, can't you?
Yeah. And the answer can change like day to day and song to song as well. That's what's the most interesting thing is like sometimes you'll come in and you'll be working on a song and you'll be like, this is just not clicking. And it
Mhm.
should be, and I don't know why. Like all the pieces are here. I just like, and you can come back the next day and it works perfectly. And you're like, what was I on yesterday? I don't even know. Like,
No. Sometimes it's just not the right moment, is it?
yeah. And that's something that's really hard to balance is like, there's this argument for like motivation versus discipline, but I think it's equally important to know when to take a step back, let something like marinate for a little bit and come back to it when either you or the idea is more ready.
Mhm. And sometimes we need to rest as well, don't we? If we're
Yeah.
forcing the creative project that we're working on, our brain doesn't quite, I find with me, it doesn't quite function right. It kind
Yeah.
of all these walls start going up. Whereas if I allow myself to rest, I feel more free with what I'm doing. Is that the same with you?
Yeah, 100%. And it's something that we are all notoriously bad at in this building because we are here from 10 a.m. to midnight every day,
Mhm.
very often not seeing the sun, forgetting to eat, like being terrible examples.
But
But
you've got opportunities there that you want to grab, and you know
exactly.
your time is limited. So it sounds to me like you're trying to get the most of your time, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure. But it is still important to rest. I think we had a little social weekend. We had a little pool party for somebody's birthday, and I think all of us have come back and been like, okay, we need to do that more often because this week is going so much better than last week did.
Hmm.
Off the back of just like actually taking a day off. Because even on the weekends, most of the time we're in sessions at people's houses or like, finishing stuff off or doing additional backing vocals or doing a new mix on the production. Like we don't know how to rest.
Yeah.
But there is definitely a benefit to it. And there's also, an argument to be made of how much life experience can we get inside this tiny little studio in order to create new songs. Eventually, you need to go out into the world to have new experiences to write about too.
Hmm. That's very true. And I find even with doing this podcast series, I went through a little period of time where I was doing a lot of them all in one go, but then I was running out of things to talk about other than the podcast because all my life was, for a moment, was the podcast. And I
Yeah,
realized that for this to be any good, I have to have pauses and I have to continue living life,
yeah,
which sounds crazy. Like it sounds a bit strange when you think about it, but very logical at the same time.
yeah, for sure. I think it's very easy for creative people to get into like workaholic mode essentially and just be like the next song, the next episode, the next. But yeah, it is important to take a pause sometimes and just live a little bit, rest a little bit, and
Live
come back.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
live life. So is there any opportunities in LA happening for you outside of this program that you're on?
Stuff is starting to. Yeah, I'm in the process of like booking my first like independent show at the moment. Probably gonna be just around the time that we graduate. So everyone's got no excuse not to turn up. Um, but yeah, just like reaching out to people, like anytime I see like an artist that I follow from the UK or like a producer coming out here, I'll always hit them up and like see if they want to get in a session, try and um see if we can kind of help each other out a little bit because the city is crazy. Um and yeah, just like starting to take outside sessions with my production partner for artists outside of this program. As songs are starting to come out, obviously you have the track record to be like, hey, this is what we've done. Like, you know, you can trust us. We're not crazy people on the internet.
Tell me a little bit more about the dream for the future, the long term, the big picture goals for Jasmine.
Yeah, so obviously I have my artist project. I'd love to be able to tour with that across the UK and Europe and the US ideally. Um to just be writing for bigger and bigger artists and kind of my goal long term is to be in between here in the UK. Um, this city is crazy and I do miss London. So I don't think I want to be here forever, but the
How's it
opportunity.
different from London for a creative?
In some ways it's better, in some ways it's worse. So my personal experience obviously is going to be different to everyone else, but like we have this really great community in this building. Outside of this building, it's very show and tell. It's very name droppy. It's very I don't know, you have to prove absolutely everything. Whereas I find like in the UK, if you're name dropping too much, if you're talking too much essentially in a session, it's a little bit more like, why can't you let your work speak for itself? Like, let's just work.
Hmm.
Whereas here, the name dropping is almost kind of essential to get into the room. Without that, you're almost like not taken seriously, which is very weird. And like, especially I think for like British people, we're typically quite like humble, self-deprecating. It's a little bit of a an attitude adjustment, I guess, to try and be like, hey, you should work with me, um, in that particular way. But honestly, like a lot of my friends were like, you're gonna hate the city, you're gonna hate America. That's not true. I do actually really like it here, and I like it more than I thought I was going to. The fact that the coldest day this year has been like 16 Celsius doesn't help, doesn't hurt either.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just it's crazy. It's a very intense place to be. Um, the turnaround of like people is very quick. Like people can leave just as quick as they arrive. Um, but there are small pockets of like really strong communities here either as well. Um, and those are really nice when you find them too.
So are you going to be staying there long term, do you think? Are you going to keep continuing to try and forge a career out in LA?
I hope to. I'm coming home over the summer to apply for a new visa. So fingers crossed.
Do you feel like it's the place where, you know, where dreams are made? Do you feel like the opportunity is there in LA?
Yeah, I do. I feel like there's opportunities in London, of course, but it feels much more tangible here. It feels like it could be tomorrow, you know? Um, and I don't know if
What's
that's just
different? What are we doing wrong in the UK? What are we doing wrong in London?
honestly, I think for the most part, people are too jaded in London. There's this element of like it's uncool to care too much. Whereas here people care way too much about some stuff and they're completely unashamed of it.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, there's this almost like, yeah, like jaded kind of, if you don't get it, it's because you're uneducated type thing. And like everyone, I don't know, maybe it's the rain, maybe it's the difference
Yeah,
between.
I've been talking a lot about that with friends and family recently, how grey it is in the UK
Mm,
and how that actually after I think the last time we had sun in the UK was September of last year, and we're now at May. And if you add that up, that's like 9 months of
yeah.
grey, and
Yeah.
it's miserable.
Yeah. Honestly, like people talk about seasonal depression
Mhm.
all the time. I did not realize how bad it was in the UK until I was here.
Until you escaped it.
Mhm.
Like
Because
it's a
we had,
sunny in the UK today. It's a sunny day here today in the UK, and it's lovely. And I've been out in the garden and I've been painting the fence, and I feel good for it. I
mm,
feel good for being outside, and it's noticeable after 9 months of grayness, and it really has been just grey.
yeah,
It gets you down, and you don't even notice it. And I think a lot of people just yeah they're just pushing on with their lives.
yeah. Like you know about it in abstract, but honestly, until I actually experienced a winter that wasn't like that,
Mhm.
I was like, oh, this is what they mean. Because we had maybe 2 weeks of kind of grey, rainy weather, sort of end of January, beginning of February. And I was like, why am I so miserable? Like, why are the songs not like working this week? What's going on? And then I realized it's because it reminded me of home and like not in a good way.
Mhm.
You know, I was like getting down from 2 weeks of rain. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like I didn't realize how significant an impact that had on me personally. And then when you think about it in like a larger context of the entire country, like it makes a lot more sense.
Mm. So we've got to try and escape this grey. We've got to all try and come. We've got to all come to LA in order to
Yeah,
get some positivity to
yeah,
unleash our best creative self.
maybe. Or at least find a way to like, I don't know how this sounds ridiculously cheesy, but like create your own like sunshine and your own like warmth and try not to give in to grey, rainy UK.
Do not give in to the grey.
Yeah. Just
Good
like
advice.
stay excited about things, you know. I think
Mm. And
that's
that's what
kind
you're not. So that's the key that you're noticing out there in LA is that people seem to be excited about
yeah,
things.
yeah, and they're like they really want you to listen to your music. I've had Uber drivers play me their music like more than a couple times, maybe like 5 or 6 different times I've gotten an Uber. As soon
Mhm.
as they hear I'm a songwriter, they're like, "Oh, let me play you this." Whereas at home it'd be like, "What are you doing there?" You
Mm.
know? It's just like, we'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm in this band," and like, "Oh yeah, we have a show, you can come if you want." Whereas here it's like, "Come to my show. I want to see you there. I'm gonna buy you a drink if you come to my show. Like, we're gonna talk, we're gonna have a session. Like, I really want to do this." Like, it's very full on, but it makes you care more just the way that people talk about themselves and their projects. It
Mhm.
makes you as a listener, even just to the conversation, much more invested in what they're saying.
Yeah. It sounds like I need to get to LA where we just embrace each other a little bit more.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
of course, like everyone has their own agenda, but I feel like that's true everywhere.
Yeah, sure.
Um, so the less we try and kind of hide from it and just accept that that's what we're all trying to do the same thing. And like it's not actually a competition between each other, it's a competition with the labels and, the radio stations, and we're not competing here. We should be helping each other, uplifting each other. If we make similar music, come open for me. I'm not gonna, you know, fight you unnecessarily when we could help each other out. It's, the infighting is something that I feel very strongly about and have talked about a lot.
Well,
But
I've never personally seen that work well for anyone. The
yeah,
infighting, I've seen it work well when when we help each other out, when we lift each other up. When you give
yeah,
someone a helping hand, that helping hand is often given back to you
yeah,
when you're in a time of need.
exactly. And that's why like the people who are typically the most successful aren't always the most talented. They're the people who are the best to work with and who have the best relationships with people. Of course, they need to be talented as well, but it doesn't matter how much talent you have if nobody wants to get in a room with you.
Well, thank you for your time, Jasmine. I really appreciate you joining me today and being part of this conversation.
Thank you
Um,
for having me.
before we say goodbye to you, have you got any advice for any aspiring songwriters?
Um, make everything and make it with everyone. Like nobody knows what your hit is going to be. You never know where it's going to come from. Sometimes it comes from the most unexpected place. So just be open to working with everyone and learning what you can from anyone and everyone too, because everyone has different skills.
I've got a specific question from someone that I know. Someone asked, someone I know is a very talented singer, musician, but she said to me she doesn't know where to start with songwriting. She doesn't know where to find that inspiration. She feels a bit lost, but she wants to do it. Have you
Mhm.
got anything you'd say to someone like that?
Honestly, get something like GarageBand or something free. Just start messing around, have fun, see what you like and what you don't like. You never know, you might be a producer too in secret and never have realized it because you've never tried it. But just like see what's fun. Don't be afraid to like fail or sound stupid or, think, oh, this melody's not very good. It's fine. Do another one. Like just keep going it's really all about reps, and like getting your 10,000 hours and all of this. Like every single song you make is going to be better than the last one because you learn something even from the bad songs, even from the songs that like you never want to show anyone. You still learn something making that, even if it's just what you don't want to do next time. So there's value in everything that you do whilst you're creating. And then also, if you want to work with other people, literally just hit people up on Instagram. Obviously, like, don't go after Jack Antonoff if you've got 200 followers, but like most people will want to work with you. Like they'll take a session just to see. You never know, like I say, you never know where the hit's coming from. So I feel like most of us are just as receptive to people messaging as we try and message other people just to see what happens. Like, yeah.
People want to be working with people, don't they?
Yeah,
We want to find connections, and we want to
exactly.
collaborate, don't we, on our
Exactly.
projects? No one
Yeah,
wants to be working in isolation. No one wants to be alone with these things.
yeah. And everyone brings different skills. So if you have skills that you can bring to the session that I don't have, then the work is automatically going to be better. Um, and we can learn from each other during that process too.
That's wonderful. Well, thanks again, Jasmine. I really
Yeah.
appreciate you. And if anyone was listening or watching this conversation, we appreciate you for joining us. And so just before we leave, Jasmine, if anyone wants to find out more about you and your music, where do they find you?
Yeah, so it's at Jasmine Starre on Instagram or TikTok. You can follow me, send me a message, say hi, let me know if you want a session. Um, and yeah, I also have a link tree on my Instagram that has all my website and my EPK and all of that kind of stuff on there too.
Wonderful. And if they want to find out a bit more about the program that you're on, I know we're not promoting this, but it sounds really interesting. Where can they find out more about the program that you're currently part of?
So it's lampmusic.com or LAAMP Music on Instagram. It's LAAMP, so 2 A's at the lamp.
Wonderful. Thanks again, Jasmine. We'll speak
Thank you for
soon.
having me.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.